I'm looking through the headlines right now. Give us the big numbers first.
Yeah, it's a $4 trillion budget, $4.1 trillion, which is about what we expected. So the top line is not a surprise, and the White House has rolled out most of its big initiatives ahead of time. However, by seeing the actual budget today, we do see some themes coming out. One of them is how focused the president is on climate change. He really wants this to be part of his legacy of his final year in the White House, and this budget really takes a crack at trying to address climate change, both on the policy side as well as on the revenue side by imposing a $10 a barrel tax on oil. There's also some surprises in terms of how rosy the economic assumptions are. The White House is assuming that the unemployment rate in the U.S. won't go below 5%, and while we're at 4.9% right now, that's a pretty rosy assumption. So it's a little bit surprising to see how much of the budget is pegged on that. And finally, there's an assumption of $2 trillion more being raised over the next decade from taxes. That's a big number and something that, of course, the president's unlikely to actually achieve.
Okay, so it seems that pretty much everyone is saying, look, this whole budget is completely dead on arrival. Angela, is there anything though that could be adopted by any means, any chance?
Yeah, certainly. It is the final budget most likely for a president who is a lame duck. But that being said, of course, there's things that will actually happen. For one thing, keep in mind that most of the budget is already set. Most of the spending is so-called mandatory spending. So it's functions of the government that happen no matter what. Things like Social Security and Medicare. So those things happen regardless of what Obama proposes. There's also things that the president sees potential for common ground on with Republicans. He met with the Republican leaders of the House and Senate last week at the White House, and among other things, they discussed child poverty, they discussed addressing the heroin epidemic, they discussed the so-called cancer moonshot spending that's being led by Vice President Biden, and those are all things where the White House hopes they may actually be able to work with Republicans in Congress this year to get done.
Okay, and Congress is not going to hold any hearings on that. They're not going to haul out the budget director to talk about this. Is that really unusual, Angela?
It is. The Republicans in both chambers last week announced that they would not be inviting the OMB director, Sean Donovan, to come to Capitol Hill and testify about the president's budget. And that is very unusual. And as you can imagine, Democrats are very upset about it. The House Budget Committee leaders, Democratic leaders, today sent a letter to the committee's chairman asking that he reconsider. And they pointed out that the OMB director has headed to Capitol Hill to testify about the budget every year since 1975.